Welcome everyone. And today we have an amazing show for you guys, so let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollocks First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Hi, welcome to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. Jasmine's having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're going to move right along. So, when it comes to today, especially with the first week of NFL and everything else, we're going to get started with the first topic. So, for you, Mr. Pollock, everything that's going on within, the first week with everything right now, what do you have to say about, during the first week and, all the scores that's just been going on, and especially for these rookies? What is your opinion on that?
Okay, well, basically, if you want to talk about the rookies, I mean, there's so many rookies starting right now at quarterback, and it's really difficult with the small sample size of the first game, first week. A lot of times, we can jump to conclusion off of a single performance, but this is a pretty long season. And I'm going to go with the team that I'm looking out for right now would be probably the Cardinals as far as the team, a young team that I think is up and coming just from their talent. Their quarterback is, he's mixed the run and the pass, so he's definitely the true definition of a dual threat. And he has a lot of weapons at his disposal. So I really look forward to them taking the next step. And funny enough, also, I would say possibly the Miami Dolphins might creep, in one of those teams that didn't make it last year. But it's going to be tough. It's tough to call it right now. It's a little early, but that's the team I'll be looking out for is the Cardinals.
Wait, I can totally agree. They was one of the teams that looked very strong this year, having
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray, not to mention the whole stack process that they have, like going down the
Absolutely.
line, getting one of the Watt brothers, and also just having the D Hop and the whole line. I mean, they're one of the favorites to actually go this year when it comes to that side. But
Absolutely.
I also agree with you when it comes to Miami Dolphins and everything. Of course, I think when it came to that game against the Patriots, both sides were just so equally matched that it just came down to a 17-16 game. It was just so equal, like for the both of them, and for the rookie Mac Jones, and then you also had Tua just showing out and just having that Alabama type of game type thing. But with so many of these week ones and everything else, even for me, I was even really impressed of even how the Eagles done and everything else.
Yep.
And this brings me to
Yep.
my next
Absolutely.
questions when it comes to everything. What team from last year do you that didn't make the playoffs last year do you think is going to make the playoffs this year?
Well, like once again, it's going to be tough to call it, but there's some teams. I mean, there's a few teams. I mean, you can start looking at the Raiders. They put together a pretty good performance. They showed some resiliency in the last game against the against who was against the who's that sorry, having a brain cramp right now. Against the Baltimore Ravens. They looked really good. I mean, down the stretch. I mean, Lamar was able to do some of his Houdini tricks or whatever, but the Raiders were able to pull that game out. So that's another team that could be a team. I think that they're well coached. Some people might not agree with John Gruden as much because he hadn't really had much going on the last few years, but I do think the Raiders could make some noise out there. Um, but I would have to go back to the Cardinals as far as the strongest out of those teams. But once again, it's still a little early, so there's a lot of things that the teams got to iron out. I mean, if you look at the Buccaneers, Super Bowl champs, they had a real tough game against the Dallas Cowboys, and there were a lot of mental mistakes, and that goes to show you, with a quarterback like Tom Brady being the perfectionist that he is, they had a tough time even in the first game. So the first game is almost like they're trend. It's almost like they're in preseason still. It's like boom, hey, we still got a lot of things that we have to work out because a lot of those starters did not see real time during the preseason. And for a lot of them, that was the first time they were getting out there and actually seeing the real time, with the full crowd, with the, the highest level of refereeing and different things like that, and the defense or whatever else, and the live defensive, offensive plays. So I think we're gonna, in another couple of weeks, we'll be able to kind of iron this out a little bit better. But right now, I would say the Cardinal would be probably the one team I would pay attention to most of all.
And I totally agree when it comes to that, especially the Cardinals itself. Just during week one, like that was just they just blew the brakes off. The thing that they played when it came to everything that they did. From the defense side to even the offense side. Kyler Murray just had a terrific game. Oh yeah, just going completely insane with everything. For my team that I think that is really gonna go take that next level, I know many people thinking that it's a sleeper. They were struggling with a quarterback last year, but I think I have some faith in the Broncos a little bit because especially from their first game when it came to Teddy Bridgewater's, it seemed like they had a more of a warm welcome when he got on that field. He took more control, especially and the players actually, just as a lot of the defensive guys even said, they was mostly saying, I haven't felt this, since Peyton came here. Not saying that he's any Peyton or anything else that's like that, but it's just that feeling of just we have a controller, we have somebody that we can at least believe in everything, and just how they even played during the preseason, going undefeated and stuff, and just keeping it going during the regular season, having that first game, and just you can see the difference from last year to this year, having the complete defense and just that the offense is just suffocating. They can do something to kind of push that next level when it comes to it and everything else. But to me, I don't really think so far that even though the Buccaneers, they can really hit that next up. I'm never counting Brady out when it comes to anything. That's just my thing. I'm not counting Brady out when it comes to it. But this is my thing. They came out flat when it came to that first game. Of course, they got to win, a small win when it came to 3 points and everything. But you can kind of see a lot of their weaknesses. Of course, they're gonna toot it up and I put those tools together, but they're gonna need to do a little bit more to kind of, a lot of teams got better. You have to step it up. That's my thing.
Yeah, and speaking of just to talk a little bit more about Bridgewater, a lot of people forget Teddy Bridgewater was actually a pretty good starter for the Vikings before he suffered that horrific knee injury, and that kind of took him out. And he was actually a guy that I thought was up and coming at that time. And you can imagine if he was there now with Dalvin Cook and the running game they have over there with the Vikings now. But I think we're going to get a chance to see what Teddy Bridgewater really is, because he was actually a decent quarterback before his injury. So I think the Broncos could be that sleeper team, because I think everything, with every team, it centers around how well their defense can do. And I also think that the Broncos have a decent rushing attack. So that's something that we'll have to look at. But, I believe that's the formula, is having a good rushing attack and, in your defense able to rush the passer. And in a league that's a passing league, you're going to have some dogs up front to get to that quarterback. So, I think the Broncos is a good sleeper to pick. I think so.
Yeah, totally. And, a lot of people that, just like what Akama just said, many people forgot about him when it came to even in Minnesota or what he has done, especially when he came out the gate and a lot of, miracle plays that he made. Of course, he had that terrible injury that he had, in those times past. Many people forget, the certain spark that he had and other things that's like that. But for Broncos, I think just for their next step as they're going, they're only going to get better from here. Just having that young depth court that they have, especially even in that certain division that they are, I think they can really come on top when it comes to everything else that's like that. But right now we're going to take a little small break and we'll be right back. And you guys stay tuned.
You're watching Jasmine Pollocks First Impression Sports Talk. Stay in touch with Jasmine on her social media channels to see videos, featured guest interviews, and much more. Find Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. On Instagram, it's at GameSpace_sports. And you can find Jasmine on YouTube by searching GameSpace Sports Content. First Impression Sports Talk airs each Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can see the show live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you missed the live show, we have you covered. A recorded version is always available on social media. And now, back to more First Impression Sports Talk.
Welcome back. I hope you guys are having a great time, especially with Jasmine's First Impression. Like I said before, follow all on social media at Jasmine's First Impressions. Big things are coming and, we're about to move on. So on for the next topic, especially staying inside the NFL when it comes to everything else that's like that. What are your thoughts and everything when it comes to this new rule when it comes to taunting?
Well, football to me is unique in a lot of ways compared to other sports because it's a sport that requires a level of emotion and passion to play the game because you got to think you are literally taking your body and basically sacrificing it to stop another human being. So I think you have a certain level, you have to get yourself up to a certain level of energy to meet that particular need. And sometimes those guys are truly passionate. And I think that being able to, within certain boundaries, talk a little bit to your opponent, it's a competitive spirit. And I think that also adds a little entertainment to the game because as long as we're not getting into physical altercations as far as throwing punches or whatever else, I think that these guys are, for the most part, are professionals. And they understand how far to go with it. And I think it does add because also, and I'm going to put another spin on it, think about what if somebody says something that gives the other team that's asleep the edge? Maybe you say something to wake that other team up to switch the momentum. And that could be a good thing on that end. So, I mean, it's kind of, you could say something to another guy to make him play harder.
Exactly.
I mean, you never know. But I think that taunting, I think is overblown. I think we've got to be careful with some of the rules. Like we've already, I wouldn't say we softened the game, but we already made the game very offense friendly with some of the rules. And Tom Brady had a pretty good take on that if you wanted to cover that, about what the rules are doing to the integrity of the game.
I can totally agree, especially with his words when he was just saying everything. Even right now, when you're even going for rushing for tackling the quarterback, you even tackle him when he's about to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. It's known as roughing the passer. You can't come in there any type of way, just wrap him up or anything else that's like that. And it has become more sensitive today, of more like protecting players, but at the same time, I think it's just a little bit too much overboard to where it's like these players have to have fun too when it comes to everything. And I totally agree with you when it comes to the penalty call. When it comes to the taunting, you already know these guys, they're already pumped up, even pregame in that locker room before they come out on that field. They're seeing the film, they seeing what's going on social media, seeing all the talks of this guy is not better than me, I'm better than him. I'm gonna knock him on his butt, and you already know, especially for yourself, that especially you when you play also in high school yourself, you already know that the trash talk that goes on, especially in those huddles and before the ball snaps and everything else like that.
Rivals and things,
you can't really control that at the end of the day. And I believe, right now, I just want to know, when it comes to the NFL, it's like, what is too much for you? Because are they going to go to the lengths where they're going to kind of cut off when they go into the end zone, and then they take away the dancing or the ritual that they have with the teams and certain things because it's too much and stuff? That's the things that I kind of worry about when it comes to that, because so much of the rules is changing, especially in this new era that we in right now. All these younger guys that's in, it's more of the protect the quarterback, or their main rule of no targeting when it comes to the helmet. That's the biggest thing that I'm kind of on when it comes to the
Yeah.
whole situation. But to me, when it comes to those factors, I believe that they should let the players have more fun rather than getting too much on them, because there's more level to this. We've seen when players, get in each other's face, start throwing punches and certain things that's like that, or go on each other's sidelines and maybe do the most disrespectful things. Then there's levels to that. You can kind of you can penalize those things. But if it's for them, just kind of going against, the players' excitement, I really just don't agree with that. But this takes me on to my next thing. So when it comes to the NFL, we're gonna stay on this topic for the last topic of the night. I'm thanking everybody for watching, who is watching right now. Thank you for keeping keep watching through the whole thing. So for the next topic, for your team, the Buccaneers, as for you, what would it take for your team to get to the next level of having a back-to-back championship?
I'm glad you asked. I had the privilege to go down to the game, and when you look at what the Buccaneers have, I think them having that tough game against Dallas was a very good thing for them because it really set everybody straight as far as, hey, we got a lot of work to do. We got a lot more work to do. But when you look at their offense when it was operating at the level, they're going to be tough to stop this year because they didn't even feature some of their weapons. And if you look at what Antonio Brown did, he looks like his old Pittsburgh form. I mean, the guy was an animal. He was almost uncoverable. And when you look at it from that standpoint, you still have Mike Evans, who I think may be nursing some sort of injury right now. But when you look at that, and then Gronkowski is just a matchup nightmare because of sheer size. But we also have Cameron Brate. We also have O.J. Howard. And then we added Giovanni Bernard to our actual roster as well, who's a good catching back, out of the backfield. And Fournette, I think, still going to be that factor. Jones, I think, is the best running back on our roster. The problem with him is the turnover situation. And he's a home run hitter, but if he can hold on to the ball, if they can get that corrected, he's going to add a lot to their actual situation. Now, as far as Brady, like you said earlier in the show, you can't bet against Brady. He's a perfectionist. He's a serious professional. He studies film, and I don't think he's going to allow what happened last week to continue because he's going to really pull everybody in because he is the ultimate competitor, and he wouldn't be where he is if he didn't have that type of mentality. So I think we got to definitely shore up some things on our defensive backfield because our corners on the right side, we're getting scorched. Davis is the truth. He's a true shutdown corner. But we had some opportunities, but we did suffer some injuries on the back end. So those are things that, we still pulled out the win. I mean, with all that being said, with the 4 turnovers, we still pulled out the win. So to me, that shows more about the resiliency of the team and the fact that we are pretty good. And I think that once we iron it out, we're going to be tough to stop this year.
Definitely. And for me, because I do agree with you, especially when it comes to those tips for your team, especially for the Buccaneers. If they want to repeat like they just did, like actually get another championship like they just did, they have to have these 3 things, which is discipline, respect, and I can say also, I would just say also just the heart of it. Because the one I would say discipline first is because, of course, we seen those penalties when it came to that last game. It's not how it was even last season. You can maybe say it before, but when it came to those playoffs, it was none of that. I can say. But also, I would just say for Fournette and any other, the wide receivers or anything, I would just tell them, don't worry too much about how many, balls that you're going to catch. Brady will find you at the end of the day. It's not about too much of selfishness, like I need more.
His accuracy was there. So
because one day it can be Antonio, one day it could be Evans, and one day it could be Fournette. Brady will try to find you any way how. And for them to hit that next step, I feel like they need to crack down on that defense, because last game, or just even during the preseason, you had little drives where you can kind of see the defense not being so straight on it, and kind of like a suffocating one like it was before. And I think for them, they just need to hit that next step. And with Brady, I think they will fix that, especially with Arians. I think they will come together, and then they'll just know their main goal, and that's to try to repeat. But I would like to thank you for being on the show tonight, Mr. Pollock. And for everybody that's watching, I appreciate everything. And I want you guys to all follow her, Jasmine, on First Impressions, Sports Talk on YouTube, on LinkedIn. And I want you to go to her Instagram. And again, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And you guys have a great